to the Solo Promoter Podcast. This is episode number 93, and the Solo Promoter Podcast is one guy talking about tabletop pro wrestling and fighting games, including Filsinger Games, Legends of Wrestling, Champions of the Galaxy, Go Fight Pal, The Squared Circle, and much, much more. Formerly the Filsinger Games Fan Podcast. This show is not affiliated with any gaming company, and I want to welcome you to the show. My name is Grant Bachoco. Before we get going, I want to send out a special thank you to all the Golden Circle channel members. These are the fine folks who help support this channel, this podcast, and make sure that it continues on. If you would like to find out about the Golden Circle, head on over to solopromoter.com on your desktop computer and click where it says join. For example, the Golden Circle channel members get to see a video of the recording of this podcast episode. So if they also get it as soon as I am done recording this episode, I am going to upload it to them. So if you would like to become a Golden Circle channel member, again, head on over to solopromoter.com on your desktop computer and click where it says join. Well, I am back from GalactiCon. That's right, GalactiCon 2024 is in the books, and I thought what I would do is do a little review of my time in GalactiCon. But I have to start with a little bit of an update because I believe the last time I recorded this episode, I was talking about how I got a callback on Friday, so I had to leave Friday. I had to leave on Friday instead of Thursday to go to GalactiCon. And I was able to switch my tickets pretty easily. I was able to move my rental car reservation easily. I went and did the callbacks, and I got as far through the callbacks as possible. Now we're just waiting for them to call me back and let me know yay or nay if I got the part. So hopefully that will happen. But what I didn't know when I went to the callbacks is my callback time was for 10 a.m. and my flight was at 1:30 p.m. And so I thought, oh, plenty of time. I live right near the airport, as I'm sure you've heard several times during these podcast recordings and during my live streams that planes fly over because I literally live in the flight path of the Burbank Airport. And I knew I was going to have plenty of time until I got to the callbacks and they said, welcome, everybody. It's great to have you here. We are very excited to have you here. We're going to have a round of callbacks, and then our panel is going to discuss, and we're going to cut some people, and then we will have callbacks later this afternoon. And I said, later this afternoon? Yeah, that doesn't work for me because I got to be on a plane. Luckily, my second round of callbacks that I did make it through to happened at 11 a.m. So I was able to do that second round, but let me tell you, I was supposed to be at the airport probably, 12:15 or something. I was flying. I made it. Everything was great. But it was a real rush there. But I was very, very happy that I got to do both. I was bummed I missed Destroyer Park Golf and Ilio de Palos, but I was very happy I was able to go back to the callback. Now, here's the other thing I will say. Never, ever, ever, this is one of my rules, and I broke this rule, never, ever, ever fly through Chicago Midway. Chicago Midway, every single time I have flown through Chicago Midway Airport, I have been delayed. Whether I'm coming, whether I'm going, if it involves Chicago Midway, things are not going to run on time. I love you, Chicago. I love hanging out in Chicago. Chicago Midway, I don't know what's happening there. And this is something that's decades. This is every time. Anyway, listen, I'm not going to bag on Chicago Midway too much. But I had to change planes in Chicago Midway, and my second flight was delayed. I wasn't able to get out when I wanted to, when on schedule. It was probably about 45 minutes delayed. And the thing was, we were sitting there and I knew we were past the time of departure. And I kept hearing this noise underneath the airplane. And it sounded like, to me, they were slamming a door shut and trying to get the door to lock. And I just kept saying in my head, they're going to take us off this plane and they're going to put us on a new plane, and this is going to be just a disaster. And finally, the captain got on and said, they have just started loading the baggage onto the plane. So that sound we were hearing was them throwing the bags onto the plane, not them trying to close a door. So we got out about 45 minutes late. We get into Buffalo, and it's after midnight. I was supposed to land at like 11:10 p.m., but now it's after midnight. I get downstairs to the baggage claim. I'm waiting for my baggage, and at baggage claim at Buffalo Niagara Airport, I can look across this little street. I can look through these windows across this little street where people get picked up, and I can see the rental car place. And the rental car place is lit up. There's a million people standing in line. Everybody is there. They're all happy. They're all, in line. I don't know if they're happy, but they're all in line. And I was like, oh, great. The rental car places are still open. So I get my suitcase. I walk on over to the rental car company. I go up to the Alamo counter with my reservation pulled up on my phone. And friends, the Alamo reservation counter is closed. That's right. It says, "We are closed. See you tomorrow." And I was like, yeah, I have a reservation. I told you when I filled out the thing for the reservation, I put when my flight was getting in and my flight number, so they knew that. They were gone. They're not there. So I go, fine. So I cancel that reservation. I go get in line for another car dealership or rental car company. I get up to the front of that line and they go, yeah, we don't have any cars unless you have a reservation. We only have cars for a reservation. I go, you're the company I should have gone with in the first place. None of these rental car companies have any cars available. They have cars for their reservations, but none available. So I just decide, listen, what I can do, my options are I can find a hotel here in Buffalo for the night, get up at, I think that the rental car counter opened at 9, so get back over to the airport, get in line for the rental car company, get my rental car, and then drive out. Or I could just get a taxi. And you know what I did, friends? I got a taxi. And I'm going to tell you, this was the most expensive taxi ride I have ever gone on in my entire life. I will never say the price that I paid for the hour and 20-minute drive from Buffalo to Jamestown at 1 o'clock in the morning. I will never say that price because it is shameful. I am embarrassed, and it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. But you know what? I got in. Because here's the other thing I figured. If I rent a hotel in Buffalo, I'm going to be paying money there, and then I'm going to be missing my hotel. It was going to cost me money anyway, right? Because if I get a hotel in Chicago or in Buffalo, if I get a hotel in Buffalo, I'm not using the hotel that I booked in Jamestown, so I'm wasting money. So I took the taxi ride. Very nice taxi guy drove me out there. He tells me, "Oh yeah, it's the busy season. They do more car reservations than they have cars, and then just when they've rented all the cars out, they just go home." So I was like, yay, screw you, Alamo. Alamo and Midway, you're on my list. So anyway, I get to Jamestown. I am excited. Saturday, I headed over to the Jamestown Community College and got there. Troy was there. Kevin was there right at the early times. Just kind of went in and started hanging out in the big convention area room, the big community room. And Mike Molesky showed up, and Mike handed me all my stuff. And so I sat down and I started looking at things. And I had done my best to avoid any sort of spoilers. I wasn't looking at things that people were posting. I just wanted to go in totally not knowing anything. And I start reading through, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. This is weird. This is interesting. This is different. And I don't know how much longer it was, but I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden Tom came in, and Tom was saying hi to everybody. And then I waved to Tom. I was sitting over on this high top table, and I waved to Tom, and Tom comes over, and he was, "Oh, good to see you. Great to see you." And he starts chatting with me. And so then he goes, "Oh, come over here and sit with me. Let's chat. So we go over, we're talking everything. He goes, "Oh, did you get to read the book yet?" And I said, "Tom, literally, I got to look at the cover of the book, and I kind of went through the cards a little bit, but I don't really know the story." And he goes, "Well, can I tell you about it?" And I was like, "You, Tom, you may spoil me, right? If anyone is going to give me spoilers on the set before I've read the book, Tom Filsinger, you're allowed to do that. So Tom goes in, and one of the first things he says, which I did not notice, is he goes, well, you might have noticed that on the cover of the book, there's no year. And I was like, oh my gosh, there is no year. And then he kind of led me through talking about it, talking about the different people in the set, talking about the different characters. And I'm just, I think it's really amazing. I think it's very, very interesting, and I'm excited to play. But I didn't really have time to digest the entire handbook until later in the day. I did find some time to kind of read most of it over at that table, while other tournaments were going on. But speaking of tournaments, let's talk about the tournaments I played in. I did the Champions of the Galaxy current tournament. I was I-Star, and I lost to Anubis in the first round. And then I was Lady Grandmaster in the women's tournament. I missed the Indies tournament, and I think there was one other tournament that was in the middle there, the Legends tournament. I missed the Legends tournament. But I had Lady Grandmaster in the women's tournament, and she was just beating everybody. She was beating everybody. And then I think it was the semifinals. I could be wrong about this. My next opponent was Storm, being run by Mike Fortune. And Mike goes, here, come back over here. Come back. We'll play over here. And so it was in this like back room. If you went to GalactiCon, it was where the pizzas were. But there's sort of a booth back there. And he's like, yeah, come back here. And he sits in this booth, and I sit on the outside. Like there's a chair across from him. And the moment I roll the dice, I realized that the dice roll funny on this table. Something was up here. Something was up. And after just slobber knocking everybody who I was up against in the tournament, Storm just kills Lady Grandmaster. And he wins, right? Mike Ford, like no offense available for Lady Grandmaster at all. Just completely gets trounced by Storm. So I go, well, hey, you won. Great job. Congratulations. We start walking out of there, and I forget who it was, but somebody said to Mike, oh, you took him back to your secret booth, huh? And I was like, Mike Fortune's got something going on with this booth. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was just great. It was a great time. I enjoyed the Q&As. Sure, would I have loved a few more spoilers about what's coming up? Absolutely. But the Q&As, my one comment is, maybe if it's in a space like that next time, I know there was one microphone available, but maybe the people on the panel could use microphones, because I will say, like for the Indies panel, it was a little bit hard to hear what was being discussed. And I will also say that some people in the room were kind of chatting loudly, which is fine. But if there's a panel going on, maybe take your conversation elsewhere or whatever, because we're trying to listen to this. I will say that the convention exclusives were great, but you guys, that Bruno Sammartino Championship foil card for the in-person attendees. Here's my prediction. That is going to be one of the most sought-after collectibles for Legends of Wrestling in the history of the game. Like, that is going to be the Draconian Sheik, the Johnny Rocket of Legends of Wrestling. Because first of all, it's different art. It's a foil card, but I love that the Bruno Sammartino card has a championship mechanic, and then they just made a card that has that championship mechanic on it, so you can just use that card. I love that. Absolutely amazing, and definitely one of the, mark my words, it will be a highly sought-after collectible in the future. So after the convention was sort of winding down on Saturday, I got a ride back to the hotel with Andy, a.k.a. Sinestro24. Huge thanks to him for taking me back. And then had a great dinner at Shawbucks with Zeke, Ty, Andy, and Pete Beck, who joined us a little bit later. With just a great time discussing things, solving all the world's problems, and just it was a really fun time. I was in a bit of a dilemma because my friend Russ, a good friend of mine, probably one of my best friends, grew up in Buffalo, and he was like, listen, when you go to Buffalo, you got to get a beef on rec. And I said, what's a beef on rec? And he goes, it's a Buffalo sandwich. It's a Buffalo tradition. You got to go get it. And I said, okay, I will do a beef on rec. And then he sent me a message going, you have to go to a place called Charlie the Butcher's to have beef on rec. Now, this was about 2 weeks before GalactiCon. So listen, my body, you can tell that I love food. I dreamed about this sandwich for 2 weeks leading up to this, right? So that Saturday night at Shawbucks, I see on the menu they have a beef on rec. Now, Zeke is at the table. Zeke, days before on his Facebook page, posted that he had a beef on rec Thursday night, and it was one of the greatest sandwiches he's ever had in his entire life. It was amazing. It was great. And so that just fueled me on even more. Shawbucks, on the menu, they have a beef on rec. And I instantly got put into a moral quandary. I was like, should I have it now? Or should I wait for Charlie the Butcher? And I decided to wait. I just got a steak that night. Zeke got the beef on rack, and he was like, it was good, but it's not as good as the other one. And I said, okay, I made the right choice. So that's coming up later. We'll talk about that in just a second. Saturday night, I was exhausted because of my late travel in, the time change, all that kind of stuff. I had the best sleep of my life. Let me tell you this. I slept amazingly Saturday night. Sunday morning, get up early, head on over to Venue 31, which I believe was the name of it. And I liked this venue. I thought it was great that we just kind of had a private space so we can kind of do what we wanted to do. I will say I felt that the Venue 31 was a tiny bit too small for the number of people that we had. I'm not like a panic, claustrophobic type person, but it just felt a little bit, it's like, I would love just a little bit more room. Like the college was great because you can really just spread out. You can go have little conversations everywhere. This one, it just felt like everyone is on top. Again, not ragging on the venue. The venue was fine, and we had some fun times there. But it just, I would prefer a little bit larger of a space. So then in the Canada Cup, I had Kurt Angle, and he lost. He had 2 wins, 3 losses. Got his clock cleaned. And then in the comedy tournament, and I may have the comedy tournament I think was first, I had a Chikara character. I want to say it's Mr. Gray. It's a Chikara guy. I'm not familiar. He's reading a newspaper on his card while he has a guy in a camel clutch. I was winning. I was beating people left and right. I was feeling good. I go up against TK. I forget who TK. Jack had the Invisible Man, and I beat him. But I'm trying to think who TK had. Anyway, we start rolling back and forth. I don't know who he had. Anyway, we were both characters, this is important, with very low DQs. I think he was a 4 and I was a 5 DQ, which 5 really isn't that low of a DQ. But anyway, we start going back and forth. It literally, we're both getting points on each other. This reminds me of something else, which I have to talk about here in a second. We getting points on each other, back and forth. We go out of the ring on the out of the ring chart. Now, this is the semifinals of the tournament, and we have to roll for double disqualification. Now, we know it's tournament. We're going to roll twice, right? We both roll. We both get disqualified. Well, no worries. We're just going to roll second. We both roll again. We both get disqualified again. It's a double disqualification. And actually, all the times we rolled, so he rolled twice, I rolled twice, it was under 4 both times. So double disqualification sent the other person in the semifinals to the finals, wins, doesn't have to fight anybody. And here's what I'm going to say. I know that in past, at least in the online tournaments, there were, when you got to the semifinals, the matches became no disqualification, no countout. We asked about that when we got, because this was a semifinal match, and we were told, yes, there are disqualifications in the semifinals. So it's like, okay, good. Okay, great. And I know for a fact in the past, online, when we've had some of these online things, there have been no disqualifications in the semifinals. So here's all I'm saying. I would love if at the very beginning of these tournaments, whether it's online, whether it's in person, there is just a simple list of how the tournaments are run. So things like roll twice for disqualification. I don't know, whatever kind of rule, whatever the rules are, I would just love them either written. I would love them said out loud. Maybe just write them down on a piece of paper, print that out. That is up at the head table where you come do your reports. I don't think it needs to be a big thing. I just think that everybody needs to be on the same playing level. And everybody was, and I'm not bringing this up because there was some big issue with that, but I would just love it if there was some standardization, because I think what happens is you get somebody like me, who this was my third GalactiCon, and then you get other people who have come to every GalactiCon, and they're just like, this is how we play, and it's not explained. It's just we're telling you this is how it's played and this is how you have to play it. And it's like, well, let's get some official rules. Let's just have this starting place where everybody knows what it is, and it can prevent hard feelings. It can prevent, like I personally would add on there, you roll every die. Even if it's impossible for the die to happen, you roll every die. Yeah, I really think that's not a rule that would be on that list. But anyway, I would love a set of tournament rules, and it's just like, these are the official tournament rules. That's it. It would take 2 seconds to type that up, 2 seconds to print it out, maybe a little longer than that. Depends on how fast you can type, Todd. But just get that printed out and have that there. And maybe before the first tournament starts, just go, hey guys, remember, roll twice for disqualifications. Everybody make sure that semifinal rounds are no disqualification. Just whatever it is, so everything is clear and there's no hard feelings. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was I wrestled Zeke at one point. I believe it was during the ladies tournament. And Zeke, we didn't have any counters or anything, and Zeke was hilariously just grabbing anything on the table to use as fatigue tokens. So he had like a paper clip, a rubber band, a scrap of paper. It was just so funny, and it became this joke that Zeke will just use anything for fatigue tokens. I just wanted to bring that up because that was really one of the highlights of the convention for me, was this great bit Zeke was doing where he was just grabbing things to use as fatigue tokens. So anyway, it was a fun time. I loved seeing everybody. I loved meeting people who I'd never met before and seeing people who I did know before, and just hanging out. Thanks to everybody who brought bootlegs and exclusives. I'm going to do a separate video on all those bootlegs and exclusives. And man, oh man, Sam handed me an envelope there's got to be I don't know, 80 bootlegs in there, I think is what he said. So very, very excited and very, very grateful. I had to catch a ride back up to, because I had to check out of the hotel by 1, and I had to get a ride back up. I wasn't flying out till Monday, but I just wanted to make sure I made it back up into the Buffalo area because I was going to Charlie the Butcher's. That's right. I went to Charlie the Butcher's. Man, oh man. Fantastic sandwich. I sent my friend Russ, who recommended it to me, a picture of the sandwich, and he said, you only got one? And then I backed out a little bit and showed him my whole tray. It's like, no, I'm not an amateur. I got 2 of these sandwiches. They're amazing. And then just spur of the moment, I had my passport. I went to Canada, to Niagara Falls. I have been there before, and it was actually a little bit too crowded for me. There was just a little bit too many people there. Maybe I am claustrophobic. But it's just the thing is, I don't really want to be around a ton of people, bumping into people and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was really, really great that night. The travel home was fine. Got on the plane in Buffalo on Southwest. It's open seating. You can sit everywhere. I love Southwest. Go all the time. This kid comes up to me. He's about 10 years old. I'm already seated in my seat. I sit on the aisle every time. I got a center seat and a window next to me. And this kid goes, excuse me, sir, can my mom and I sit next to you? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And I get up. And as this little kid is passing me, going into his window seat, he goes, oh, yeah, we have a baby, too. And then here's Mom with the baby. And the baby is a baby. So that's how that trip went. I had a 5-hour layover in Nashville. Thank you, Southwest. So what did I do? I left the airport, and I went and got barbecue, peg leg porker. That's right. I ate like a MF for this past weekend. Sorry for my language there. But Peg Leg Porker was a new barbecue place I'd never gone to. Amazing. Just really, really great. Fantastic. Got on my second flight to Burbank and sat next to a couple who were on drugs. I don't know what kind of drugs they were on. I don't know why they decided to take whatever drugs they took before they got on the plane. Everybody on the plane knew they were on drugs. The flight attendant. Here's the thing. I kind of think the flight attendant should have not allowed them on the plane because this guy was, like, especially the guy, was really out of control. Just he could not sit still. He's flapping around. Someone else who they must have known came up and gave him a pill, and he took another pill, and then he was kind of fell asleep, or I don't know what he was doing. So it wasn't too bad, but the first 30 minutes I was a little bit like, I cannot sit next to this for 3.5 hours. But those are all just stories, and that makes the trip to GalactiCon even better. Well, I've been back now. I did all my housekeeping for my GWF Fed. I set up my Excel spreadsheet. I got the roster ready. I got to do the feuds and allies tables because I always like to do those as well. I will put those up at promotertoolbox.com when I get them done. The roster is already there. I planned out my first card, but thinking about it, I haven't rolled it out yet. I may change a few things. I don't know. I'm not 100% happy with the card. I'm not going to give any spoilers here, just in case there's anybody who hasn't gotten their set yet and doesn't want to be spoiled when this comes out. So you're gonna be safe there. What else? I need to sit down and get my legends entered into FG Assistant so I can bring the legends into my Hollywood Elite Wrestling fans. Hope to do that tomorrow. Today is July 3rd, so July 4th, when there's not much going on, just sit and do that for an hour or so and get them all entered in and ready to go. But GalactiCon was a fun time. Thank you to Tom. Thank you to Chuck Carter was great there. I didn't really get to talk to Tom Rickard, but it was very cool that he showed up as well. And Todd and Mike, thank you for setting everything up. And thanks to everybody who was there and hung out, and it was a good time had by all. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Solo Promoter Podcast. If you have a topic you would like the show to cover, leave it in the comments. Make sure to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening to this. Check out my personal feds at gwfpromoter.com and lowpromoter.com. Theme song is American Guy by Throwing Toasters, used by permission and available on Apple Music, Spotify, and anywhere you get your music. This podcast is not affiliated in any way with Filsinger Games or any other game company. It is purely for entertainment purposes. This episode is copyright 2024 Saturday Morning Media, Grant Pachoco, executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com. Well, there you go. Almost a 30-minute episode. Yikes! Friends, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Really, really appreciate it. And I hope you, thank you for being a Golden Circle channel member. And I will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.